Welcome to the Build Your Brand Story course. So before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and why I'm here helping you do this. I'm a senior strategy consultant and I have worked with companies for over 20 years to help them build their brand stories and build marketing plans to bring their brand stories to life. I've worked with companies from Ireland across Europe, and I've worked with companies on the west coast of Canada, across Canada and North America. I also studied marketing for 6 years in a business and marketing degree and a master's in marketing practice. So building brand stories is a deep passion of mine that I've been pursuing for over 20 years now, 26 years if you include my education. I'm also the founder of I Like Storytelling. So 5 years ago, I opened I Like Storytelling and specialize it on building brand stories. So there we basically build brand stories and build storytelling plans to bring them to life. I'm also the founder and facilitator of the Mindful Marketing Retreats, which are marketing and wellness retreats where I facilitate strategy development on retreat. So we build brand stories on retreat, we build marketing plans on retreat, we build company visions and missions on retreat, and many more things. I've worked with many brands across many different industries, from large international global brands like Molson Coors and PepsiCo and Nestle, where I worked on building strategies for portfolios of different brands, to smaller brands, to local brands, to not-for-profit brands. I've basically worked across all different sizes of brands and everything from products, services, and experiences. So, at I Like Storytelling, our specialty is uncovering brand stories that grow businesses. And today, you are here to build one of those stories so that you can grow your business. So I'm going to give you a little overview of what you're going to see in this presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about words. There's a lot of marketing jargon out there, and it helps if we kind of just level set the playing field with a shared understanding of what some of the words are I'm going to use. I'm going to talk a little bit about why brand messaging is so important and what a brand story is. And I'm going to take you through one example of a case study of how I built a brand story and all the steps we went through to build a brand story. There's another few case studies as well in a separate file that you can look at so that you can find one that's as relevant to your business as possible. Then we're going to talk about the steps that you're going to go through in this online program to actually create your brand story. There's 3 main phases. And then we're going to finish this exercise today, or we're going to finish this module today with a little exercise around starting with your why. So why your brand exists, why you're in business, what it's there to help customers with. So let's talk words. So when I say brand, it's actually an all-encompassing word for me. It's talking about, it's your offering. So that could be a product, it could be a service, it could be an experience, it could be a cause-related initiative. If you're a not-for-profit, for example, it's whatever you're offering. And so when I'm talking about brand story, I'm talking about your brand promise and your 4 reasons to believe. We're going to dig into that a little bit later when I explain what a brand story strategy is. And when I talk about brand messages or brand promises, sometimes I'll use the term interchangeably because sometimes we aim for a brand promise, which is a succinct promise of the unique value your brand offers. But sometimes the language doesn't quite work out that way. And sometimes it becomes more of a statement of purpose, a statement of intention. And both are very valid. So sometimes you'll hear me say key brand message or brand message, or sometimes you'll hear me say brand promise. Because we don't know until the end what it's going to be. We aim for a brand promise, but sometimes that's not what it is. When I talk about customer, this is interesting because traditionally a customer is somebody who buys your product. But sometimes it might be an end user. Sometimes it might be a partner, sometimes it might be a donor, sometimes it might be a grant funder, sometimes it might be the government. Your customer is basically anybody who's buying your offering, but that doesn't always mean that money is exchanging hands in the traditional sense of somebody purchasing a product or service. So we're talking the customer is the person the brand speaks to. So I'm going to give a little overview of what a brand story is and how to create one. So brand messaging, why is it so important? Well, Effective marketing is getting to the right people with the right message in the right place at the right time. And then what that creates is a customer connection, and they'll take an action, either buy, or maybe they'll think something different, or maybe they'll sign up for something. But if you don't have the right message, it doesn't matter if you get to the right people in the right place at the right time. The customer isn't going to connect. So messaging is critical. It's the number one thing that you need to get right in marketing. You know, once the message is right, the other marketing will be much easier to do. So what is a brand story? There's a lot of different versions of what this is out there in the world. There's a lot of different authors calling it different things. So I'm going to tell you what my definition is. It's a brand story strategy. And a brand story strategy is ultimately three things, and the first two things are connected. One, it outlines where you play and who you compete against, and that's called the brand positioning. So it's the position that you take in the market against your competitors. The second piece is a brand promise, and that's a simple articulation of the unique value, the most compelling and unique value that your brand offers its consumers. And it normally encapsulates the why, like why the brand exists. And that's the brand promise. And that's what we'll spend a lot of time building. It's the heart of the brand story. Then we also have reasons to believe that your brand can deliver on its promise. And so what these are their functional and emotional reasons to believe. And they become your marketing messages. They're a smaller part of the brand story. The heart of the brand story is the brand promise, but they're really important because they are proof points. So at the end, what you have in your brand story strategy that you create is a brand positioning, a brand promise, and 4 to 5 reasons to believe that your brand can deliver. And they become your marketing messages that you can use all the time. So how do we create a brand promise? Well, what we do is we look for one thing the customer needs and wants, something that's unique in the marketplace, and something that the brand can really deliver well. And we bring those together in a combination and we create a brand promise statement. Now, it might look like that's a pretty simple thing to do, but we have to collect all this research and information and insights on, hey, what do customers need and want? We have to do a market analysis and look at everything that is out there in the market to see where the unique opportunities are to offer something different. And we have to look at all the things the brand offers to see what's actually important. So I'm going to take you through an example because I think it's a great way to understand the process. And of course, we'll be going through the process in more detail as well in the next few modules. So this brand promise example is for OK Dave, and they are a design studio. And so they're a business to business service. You will see that in this module, there's another couple of examples for business to consumer and business to consumer not for profit as well. So a product and a service in both of those. So depending on what your business is, you can pull out the case study that you feel is most relevant to you, or you can look at them all just to get a little bit of inspiration. But this one I'll be bringing through the whole course. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail. So OK Dave are a design studio, and they're led by Andrea and Will. And Andrea and Will are just a wonderful duo. Something that's important to call out here is that they are a multicultural team, and it's very important to them. In fact, it's one of the reasons that they got together. Andrea is from Venezuela, and Will is Chinese Canadian. And so between them, they actually have different cultural backgrounds, obviously different ethnic backgrounds, but different cultural backgrounds and different design skills. So together they make this like mixing pot of like lots of different skills and experiences and perspectives. So that's really important because it's quite important to their messaging. So again, what we are looking for is the goal is that we're trying to find one thing the customer needs and wants, one thing the brand can deliver well, and one thing that's unique in the marketplace. And then we build a brand message based on that. So for OK Dave, when I did a lot of research with their customers, I did a survey and I did some customer interviews, and you may do the same. The things I uncovered up on the top, and these are like the most important insights. There was a lot more, but these are narrowed down to the most important things the customer needs and wants and appreciates. Because when you speak to a customer, they're kind of telling you what they like, but that translates into needs and wants. So customers really loved that they delivered work outside the expected. They loved that Will and Andrea took design a step further. They really appreciated that they thought differently. And they loved that the design got complimented. So that came up a lot, actually. So customers, like clients, actually saying that other people were complimenting the designs that they had. So that came up across a couple of different customers. So that was quite nice. And they appreciated that Will and Andrea really cared about the craft of design, and also people. Then over on the top right, when I looked at the marketplace and looked for unique opportunities, a few things people weren't talking about was they weren't talking about the effect a brand had. So the effect being, when you see a great design, it gives you goosebumps. Like, that's an effect. They weren't talking about conceptual brand messaging, which is like, higher level creative brand messaging. And they weren't really talking about creative strategy focused brand agency. So, a creative brand company that was really driven by strategy. So there wasn't a lot of that. And then things on the bottom that the brand delivered really well. Over on the bottom right, we have they deliver well-crafted, well-thought-out, high-quality designs. And they have a deep passion for their craft. In the center here, we have proactively combining perspective, skills, and experiences, and that they are a multicultural team. And then over on the left bottom, we have their brand personality is vibrant, bold, colorful, passionate, friendly, approachable, and experimental. And also Will and Andrea together have over a decade of big agency experience, so they can really deliver. So these were the most relevant insights. And then I narrowed them down to the combination of the most important ones that kind of worked together. So on the customer side, delivering work outside the expected. So customer needs and wants work delivered that's outside the expected, and that they appreciate that they think differently. And then over on the right, we have the market opportunity is to talk about the effect a brand has, those goosebumps. And then for the brand, proactively combining cultures, perspectives, skills, and experience. That sort of melting pot idea of putting lots of different things in there and getting something special out. So the brand promise is unexpected brands that pull you in. So unexpected brands that pull you in. You can see how this brings together the different key insights that we had there in that combination. Then the next part is building the reasons to believe that the brand can deliver. And the reasons to believe are functional, which are kind of tangible things that you can kind of put your finger on, or emotional, which are more like feeling things or intangible things. So for them, how they can deliver on unexpected brands that pull you in is, on the left, they have a unique team mix. So that's all about them, their different experiences, their different heritage, their different skills, and how they come together. Also, they are brand experts. So they have the decade of experience behind them building brands in big agencies. And then strategy and craft is really important. So they're just doing a lot of solid work in building a great brand strategy before they're actually crafting it. And so that's how they help build brands that are unexpected. On the emotional side, they have a desire to inspire. So they don't want to create something that's been seen before. They want things to be unexpected and different. So that's quite different. That's, and they want people to be inspired. They want people to get goosebumps. They want people to stop in their tracks and go, oh, that brand is awesome. So that's quite unique to them. And then the drive to be different, as I just kind of covered there. So there are, as I mentioned, some other brand story examples that you can explore. There is we've just covered a business to business service, and it's an agency. And then there's also a business to consumer product, and there's also a not-for-profit service. And feel free to explore those. Maybe one of those is more relevant to your business, or maybe you would just like to have a look at all of them and have more inspiration, but there's some great stuff in both of those. So how you will create your brand story with this course is in 3 stages. The first stage is the discover stage, and this is actually the research stage. So you're going to conduct some research around what customers need and want, what the unique opportunities are in the marketplace, and what the value is the brand delivers. And there's going to be a module on each of those, so you're going to have tools and workbooks and questions and things that you can use. Then when you get all of those wonderful insights, you're going to create, the diagram, the circles, the 3 circles together, and you're going to put all your insights up. And you're going to work through some different combinations, and you're going to build your brand promise. Then you're going to craft your reasons to believe that your brand can deliver on its promise. And then you'll do an exercise where you kind of refine the language. That's going to be the creative stage. So your first stage is research, your second stage is the creative stage, and your third stage is a much smaller stage. And this is just sharing the fruits of your labor. So you're going to take your brand promise, and you might have, just in the refinement stage, you might have 2 or 3 versions of your brand promise, just with the language maybe a little bit different. So you might want to run those by maybe people in your company, or maybe partners that you work with, or maybe like a trusted advisor. Or you're also welcome, there's an option with some additions to this course where you can actually share the insights with me and share the brand story with me and the team, and we can actually look over it and provide any advice and refinement. But first, before we even get into all of that, I want to get your mind into a different space when you're thinking about brand storytelling. And that is the space where you're thinking about the why. So Simon Sinek is quite wonderful. He created a great little tool just to get leaders to think about the why as opposed to the what and the how. And he's got a few wonderful TED Talks that you can check out there. I've put a link in there for a short one and the longer one. I mean, it's not that long, it's like 18 minutes, but either of those are great. And I mean, if you really feel like going whole hog, you can listen to the audiobook. He's got a wonderful voice, so it's and he narrates it himself, so it's quite lovely. But ultimately, you can see over here on the right that when you're looking at your brand or offering, there's 3 things really you're offering. One is why it does what it does, why it exists, its reason for being. The other one is how. It's how you create the thing that you're putting out there into the world, and like what you're creating. So often one of the challenges, one of the many challenges that come before requiring a brand story is, company owners and brand leaders just being a little bit overwhelmed by there being so many things that they can say about their offering, and some of them do relate to what they create, and some of them do relate to how they create it, and some of them relate to how it goes out into the marketplace. So this exercise is great because it just takes you a step back and helps you think about why is it here? Why does the brand exist? And it's always an emotive story. And then I'm going to talk you through your task. So I'd love you to spend a little bit of time thinking about your why, your brand's why. And that doesn't have to be like a sit down now for 30 minutes and do it. It can be, but it can also just be over a couple of days. Like you can keep writing down notes on this as you think about it, because it's a bigger thing to ponder. So my suggestion is, and you can do this whatever way you like, but my suggestion is to just start jotting down what comes to your head when you think about your brand's why. And if you need some prompts, you can answer the questions like, why does it exist? Why did I create it if you created it? Or why was it created? How does it help customers? Like, what's the ultimate benefit of using it? So not necessarily thinking about what it does, but what the benefit is to customers. How does it improve their lives? How does it make things better for them? How does it affect a customer? And anything else that comes to mind. So this is not a perfect exercise. This is just getting a lot of your thoughts out on paper. You might draft a few statements that encapsulates your brand's why. And then it's a nice idea at the end of this exercise to pop these statements or these keywords or these key whys that you put down, to actually pop a few of them onto Post-its or onto a piece of paper that you can put on the wall near the place where you're going to be working on your brand story, so that always you can kind of come back and check, hey, does this link up to the why? I will say just a couple of notes here, and focus on emotion-based messages. So if you're getting a little bit confused with the messaging and you're writing about the functions of your product or elements of your product, and you're in more of the what and how territory, sometimes it's helpful to actually split them all out and actually put up like why, what, and how, and put the notes under each of them. It helps you just so that you can discount some of the things that are about the thing you offer versus, the driver behind the thing you offer. I will also say the statements, the notes, nothing needs to be beautifully articulated. This exercise is really just to get you into the mindset of why, and to help you get a little bit of clarity on why you're doing what you're doing, why this brand exists, why it's there in the world to help customers. All right, that is a wrap. That's the process overview complete. So enjoy taking a little bit of time out to think about your why, and I'm going to see you at the next lesson.